know so well. It's his generosity, his courtesy. There are a number of people in this room who have had the benefit and pleasure of extensive periods of advice and technical help and thoughts. And you know, when his illness was announced, I sort of found that as a sort of a lightning rod, perhaps for his latest home, people would come up to me and say, "I can't believe, you know, do you realise this is what he did to me 20 years ago, 15 years ago? He did this. He never had to. He went out of his way." Some of the best, perhaps some of the best examples of that, every year we used to have a lot of interns, and amongst them was his son Merrin used to come in and once a year, and other people, friends, children often, and he would treat them in a way that, well, first of all, he gave them a huge amount of time, and the courtesy to give them some 2 days of training about the insurance and reinsurance business, a brief guide to mathematics and everything else at the same time. And then he'd give them tasks and jobs that were, frankly, I would assume, way beyond their capability. But somehow or other, through the time he spent with them, the focus he gave them, and the sheer fear of God that he put them in, should they fail, that you know, he did a great job. And I think that the greatest compliment he paid them actually was treating them like adults, even though they were sometimes 15, 16, 17 years old. And I shall never forget that. We're going to try and keep that going. So the third sort of category of things I sort of thought were worth mentioning are sort of some of his foibles, and we've had a few of those already. And I have to say, Patrick, that we've all done a test in our office on whether or not we are a geek or a nerd. And there's an online test that you can see. So I can tell you, I don't remember exactly what the results were, but I think we concluded that Peter was a nerd and I was a geek. And you can have lots of discussions about exactly what this means, but the simple translation is that he knew exactly the algorithms, or he could understand at least the algorithms went into almost any heating machinery or formula or paper that had been written, and I definitely can't. But he was incapable of working an iPhone, and I can. And I don't know how many of you have faced this, but the number of times that we have had meetings that should have been in his diary, and somehow or other disappeared, and there'd be a sort of, "Fuck, what do you mean? I'm not double booked, I'm triple booked," and we sort of try and say, "Help, well, you know, speak, so you can get the settings right." Usually you have to take it home and see if Mary can fix it. But it was quite unbelievable how often that went wrong. We talked about the language, and I think it's a general rule. One of the extraordinary things I found that he'd say things that other people couldn't, and get away with it. And I remember occasionally having to go talk to people and say, "Look, I'm sorry if that was a bit strong," but and actually what they said is, you know, because of his integrity, because they knew that he meant exactly what he said, which, you know, frankly, I think many people don't often do the same thing. They were quite happy to accept the fact that he might have a bit of a temper, he might swear a bit. And I found this quotation from, I don't know told of it, but I think it's quite well known. It's from Stephen Fry about people who don't think swearing is right. And Stephen said, "The sort of twee person who thinks swearing is in any way a sign of lack of education or a lack of verbal interest is just a fucking lunatic." The last sort of foil that I quite like is some of the axioms that I think sort of work really well. So one of the ones I like was, he said, "You can always test how a company treats its customers and how a company treats its employees by the following two metrics." So how they treat their customers was go to the entrance lobby or the reception or phone the line. If you get a shitty service, it's a shitty company and they treat their customers. And the second one was how they treat their staff is the quality of their coffee. And it's one of those things that I can't help but go into an organisation, and where I find there's nobody on reception or they treat you rudely and the coffee's rubbish, I just now think that the company's rubbish. So there's a little warning of people there. Careful what you do. Better go back and check if you got the Nescafe or not. I had lunch with somebody last week who told me another one, which was a sort of version of the 3 strikes and you're out. So this is when he's explaining something to somebody and they don't get it. So the first time, he'd spend actually inordinate amounts of time explaining exactly why he was right and they were wrong. usually what it boiled down to. And you know, hopefully they would nod and they'd go, oh, I see, great. If it ended there, then it was fine. If they did it a second time, then he'd probably shout at them and possibly swear at them at the same time. And the third time, he just wouldn't bother. Luckily, there wouldn't be anybody in this room, unless of course it's one of Patrick's, like it's, you know, like it today and I don't like it tomorrow, but hopefully there's nobody in this room that heard that same thing. He once told me, we had a conversation about what really matters in life. And I related the story about a friend of mine who had some peculiar what really matters in life. And two of his, you know, one's not very difficult, which is cricket. The other one was pivot tables. And actually, pivot tables take I never understood that. So lastly, of course, is you can't help but think about what his legacy is. And we've heard a lot about it today. And aside from the love and affection and respect that everybody I've ever met has for Peter, what else is there? Well, I would say that Oasis is a good example of that. He and I once were on a trip somewhere, and we were sort of chatting about, you know, what we've done in life, and we sort of concluded that we thought that Oasis was probably the best thing we'd done because we did it for the right reasons and the right motivation. Well, at least that's in my case. In his case, exactly the same, that he did all the hard part, which was actually making that software with our team work as well as I think it will be proved to work during this year. And his DNA will reside in Oasis forever, which is great. I'm really pleased that Tom Bolt and Trevor Maynard have received a new prize. This falls under the Lloyd Science and Risk Prize. And there'll be a Phillip Taylor Prize for something sort of like that, I can't remember what it is, Phillip Taylor Prize for mathematical something, environmental something, Tom, is that right? That's good, thank you very much. But anyway, even though I can't remember the name, I think it's great that actually his contribution to our business and the mathematics in our business is being recognised by Lloyd, which is entirely fitting. One of the better things I've sort of done recently was I had a bright idea of, I thought, how can we capture the insight and brilliance that he's provided, particularly the cat modelling world over the last few years. And so I've got a video for you, and I said, I've got a video. This was the sort of last, actually it was a week after he'd really stopped work, and obviously by the stage he knew about the extent of his illness. And so we got this video crew in and spent 3 hours talking about the theory of cat modelling from his perspective. And as always, the insight was brilliant. About halfway through, he said, have you seen the title of mine? He gave me some notes beforehand to sort of explain what he was going to do. I don't know why he wrote the notes, because he never used them, and he didn't need to use them either. But anyway, he gave me his notes, and he said, did you read the title? Of course, stupid, I never read the title, I just read the notes. And the title was a video from the grave, in a typically sardonic way. So that will be coming out fairly shortly in a series of massive online training courses about cat modelling, which will be free to the world. There'll be a bit of a struggle without him to do the rest of it, I have to say, but there'll be some people in this room actually who've been kind enough to either contribute themselves or contribute from teams in their companies. So we'll have a nice record there. The last question I asked him, that, so all the questions and the topic was about cat modelling, but I sort of threw a googly at the end because I thought we could. And I said, so, looking back on your life, what advice would you give a 21-year-old coming into working life today? And I'm going to quote it, this is the following. Well, I'll tell you what I would say. I think I've always felt this way and feel the same way now. I think whatever it is you're doing, if it's something that really captures your imagination and you feel motivated to do it, have a go at it. Because later on, you may not have a chance. And you may not succeed. I know everyone will say this, but I really think this is the best thing to advise people. And I thought that was a very good bit of advice. I put a tweet out, which was my attempt to capture what I thought it was. And it says, lives of great men will remind us we can make our lives sublime, and departing leave behind us footprints on the sands of time, which is Henry Longfellow, if you're not familiar. So that's my recollection of Peter. To add to the other three, Before I go, I want to just do a little bit of sort of housekeeping, if I may. So, actually no, I'm not. I'm going to do a toast first. So, if you could join me in raising a glass to the celebration memories of Peter. Now I'm going to So, just three very quick things. So the first thing is that should anybody feel that that's a nice thing to do or they want to do it, in the invitation there were actually three charities who were just getting started convention. One's St Barnabas, which is the hospice is in, one's Macmillan Nurses, and the other one is Riding for Disabled, which both Annie and Peter supported actually for quite a long time. You know, I would only say that I know two of those organisations quite well, and they're obviously worthy to be supported. The second thing is that on the little table over there is a remembrance book, and should any of you wish to sort of write something down in there, I'm sure that the family in the time to come would love to have some recollection. Or you can email it to us. Actually, there's an email address that's on the invite, and we'll just stick it in there too. And lastly, and also importantly, if at the end of this, we can stay here until about 3:30, should you have the time to do so. But if anybody feels in burning need of drink afterwards, I think there will be a few people in the Balls Brothers in Mark Lane. So if it's there, I'd love to join you, and thank you.